see any waves on here, it should work. So there's mine.
There's mine.
Oh, good.
I see it.
Just trust that it will go through.
It's going to.
We've had some good times with this soundboard and everything's worked.
But then we've had
recently.
some not so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it got better.
That's true.
Welcome to the Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marley.
Changing it up again.
Trying to.
Gosh.
Let's just jump into it.
Okay. Well, how do we start this? Putting people on pedestals.
That's the topic for today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the starting point. Who knows where it'll go?
Yeah.
But so James and I have been talking here recently because we've kind of both seen it, kind of experienced it, kind of walked through some of it, where there is this idolizing of people. And, you know, whether it's that you like really respect what they do or there's like, you still honor them,
right?
You know, like there's something within you that is clearly drawn to that.
Or like you want to be around them.
Yeah.
Be very close to them.
It's because, you know, I think there's a distorted view that comes in that it is the creating of an idol. It is like you elevate them and you think that you are less than. When I think the true heaven perspective is that who you are, there is something inside of them that resonates with you.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as like, oh, they're better than me, realize, they have something that is coming alive in me.
Right.
And that's an aspect that I carry that I can bring to this earth.
Yeah, exactly. That's what a friend of mine and I were talking about it. And this is another reason I wanted to bring it up. He brought it up. I didn't even say anything to him about it, but he talked about...
How weird.
Yeah, we were talking about creativity and stuff. And he said, when I was growing up, I always idolized so-and-so. And like I always wanted to be just like them. And that was the conclusion we were talking about. It's like, well, maybe there's that aspect that person has, whether it's confidence or... It's probably because the purity of it, if it's from the Lord, it's an aspect that you're built to carry and embody.
Yeah.
It's not that person's, it's for you, you know, in your own unique way. But it's always an aspect of the Lord, what it's supposed to be anyways. It's like if you idolize somebody, even if you don't know why, but you're drawn to them, there's probably an aspect of them that you're meant to walk in.
Yeah. I think of like, I've seen this, like, if you want to call it the spirit realm or the spiritual avenue of people's lives. Yeah. Is that one, I think that the religious system has caused this wild perversion of idolizing authority. And this wild, like, oh, they're the pastor, so we elevate the pastor. And if we want to feel good about ourselves, we get in with the pastor. And
right.
This whole thing.
This cliquey thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, that's not anything that the Lord was doing.
Right.
I don't believe it.
Or even like he's the priest or he's the middleman.
Yeah.
Too. Even little hints and thoughts of that.
The pastor has the final say. The pastor has to do this. And yeah. You know, I get that you honor authority. I'm not saying buck all of the authority.
No, right.
But what I am saying is that what you actually idolizing is the fact that they talk to God. Yeah. And you're dry, like there's something within you that feels like you can't actually communicate to God the way that they can, but it's not true. Yeah. It's the voice of God awakening within you saying, I want to be your shepherd. It's the voice of God drawing you into communion with him. Yeah. And if we could see our entire life it's nothing but communion points. Right. It's like the Lord, if something is like being pricked within you, or you're like really wanting to be around this person, it's like, oh, this is an invitation for me to connect to God. Yeah. Because it's as you see him that you're transformed. Right. It's beholding him, not beholding another person. Yeah. You know, because you can honor what the other person is carrying, but you won't be transformed. Otherwise, you're going to turn into their likeness. Right. It's like, why You don't want to turn into somebody else's likeness.
Yeah.
You want to be who you were or who you were created to be.
Yeah.
But it's like this thing since we released Sarah's podcast about dreams, right? I'll have people that are like, well, I just don't dream. I don't get that.
Yeah.
But you can hear it in their voice that there's a longing
for it.
And it's like, yo, you do have it. If you desire that, it's there for you.
Yeah.
Meaning it's available. I don't know. It's like we put caps on us. We limit ourselves by our own perceptions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Thinking that we're confined to this little box.
Right.
And somebody else is far greater.
Yeah. That's another grid that I think the Lord is going to smash overall. Because the fact that there's this like idolization or pedestals, and that alone is a language of like highs and lows.
Yeah, hierarchy.
And there's not one. It's a body. It's a body, which is a functioning, unified, mystical thing. You know, my arm doesn't want to be a leg, you know, I'm not going to go tie my shoes on my hand.
Yep.
It's just weird. But like, instead of it being this higher, lower thing, this morning kind of thinking about it. It's like everyone is on this gauge or pathway to their fully redeemed self of who they are, who the Lord made them to be. So there's varying levels of, I guess, redemption that people are walking through.
Yeah.
That some people can see and are attracted to, but that's for them.
Yeah.
That level of redemption and wholeness is for everyone. So, I mean, rather than look at somebody, I would say look at people. There's somebody that you respect.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I can walk in that. Don't cling to them. Seek the Lord in it. That's where it is. Totally.
I think so. That happened with me very early on. I was so drawn to Bob Jones. I was like, everything about this man, I honored immediately. It was just like, yo, the way that he moved in the mystic realm, the way that he helped people, the way that he loved people, that even most people just idolized his mystic side.
Yeah.
But like, the dude valued people.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I watched his funeral the other day. I don't know. He died in 2014.
I watched it too after you told me about it.
There's just the way that they talked about him.
Yeah.
There was a pull in me. And I was like, yo, even this many years later, 8 years later, there was such a value that he cared about people.
Yeah.
That he took the time he was never too busy for people.
Yeah.
He never like, well, I'm this minister. He would like literally lay hands on people for like 6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah.
But one thing that the Lord, it like burned within me was I like started thanking the Lord for his life and how much I valued what he laid here on this earth for us.
Yeah.
But then something just came out of me and I was like, let his ceiling be my floor.
Yeah.
And it was just this like,
yeah.
Where I realized that even with people that you really honor, people like, even for me, it was like what they function in at their highest capacity.
Yeah.
Let that be where I start.
Yeah.
That like,
right.
And I started thinking about that with everything. You know, that's a part of the body is like what they're functioning in, you actually have access to. That's that Matthew 5. Like if you open or basically like let your light shine so that it fills up all the house.
I love that. Yeah.
It's like, man, we have access to it. And I think that's why our brothers and sisters even went before us.
Yeah.
Is on this linear time scale is that we can build on top of what they did. And then even people in our own lives, you know, like you can build, you can actually, especially those that you are in relationship with.
Yeah.
You can take from them.
Right. Yeah.
You can take the things that they have walked through.
That's a strength. Yeah.
And add it to you.
Apply it to your, yes.
Yeah. Because it adds.
Yeah. And exponential growth too. Yeah.
Where you start to perceive all things through the lens of I'm an equal part here.
Right.
I am equal. It doesn't matter if you haven't fully walked into understanding yet, or you're, I hate this crap, but if you're immature, these are big quotation marks. There's so much belittling that happens. Like, oh, they're still immature in their faith. And it's like, yo, the disciples were immature and they were freaking ripping down principalities.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they were extremely immature.
They had so many character flaws.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's encouraging.
But it's like, what if we started to relate to each other like we're normal human beings instead of these weird...
Yeah,
idolizations, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're all normal.
Yeah.
I love it. My grandmother used to say, especially when I was like middle school, she was like, Marlia, they all put their pants on the same way, one leg at a time. Doesn't matter.
That's funny. It's true.
Yeah, I didn't believe it for a long time.
Yeah.
Because in my perception, I thought that everybody was better than me.
Right.
And
people walk around with that mentality and that weight and that belief as well.
Yeah. Both sides. You have those that are over the top where you think that you're arrogant and that you're an elite and that everyone must come to me. And then you have the flip side of like, poor pitiful me, I'm nothing but a lowly sinner.
Yeah. Yeah, and that person's way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Here's another thought I had. Because it's interesting to navigate it. When I meet anyone that's, I don't know, not super famous, I haven't met anybody super famous, but I always consciously, I'm like, I can see the way that they act and interact with people. And I see how fluid and quick they are with people. They're constantly moving so they don't get stuck, and I've noticed it.
Yeah.
But whenever I encounter people like that, I don't give them any special. I'm intentional not to give them special attention, but also not to look at them lower, and just to be normal with everybody.
Totally. You got to be consistent
and
across the board.
Completely across the board.
Yep.
And so, and I don't think, not anymore, I don't really idolize people. I've always felt uncomfortable about it if I did encounter anybody. It was like, I don't know. It's just weird. But I don't know where I was going with that. I've seen the people, and I've been aware of it and kind of taken little notes on like, how does this, it's curious to see how these certain people interact with people and move and stuff. And then it makes me think, the Lord had this thing going on, 100%. Sure. And so I started to go into that of like, how did he handle it? Like, what did he do with it? Anyways.
I think of the lady when you said that, and his person being consistent in all his ways.
Yeah.
Was a lady with the issue of blood. Like, she went and reached and grabbed his garment, and he perceived that. He perceived that the power left him. Yeah. And it says he turned and he looked for her. Like that thing, that's what he does. Yeah. Like he isn't just trying to like not get stuck by people. Right. He's like looking for, where can I stop?
Right. Yeah.
Where, like, let's connect here. If somebody's reaching out, like, let's connect. Yeah. And it's so pure to me.
Well, another thing is when he sent out the 70 too. Yeah. It's like, rather than, I don't know, it's like, you're empowered. You go out there and do it. To send out that amount of people. Yep. That amount of, immature. Yeah.
Immature imitators.
Yeah. Right. But that was another thing. It was like his reaction was that too. Like sending those people out.
I like it because he's, not only is he like, hey, you know what? I'm making a ruckus. Let me send out 12. Yeah. He's like, you know what? We're making more of a ruckus. Right. Let's send out 70.
Just amplify 72. That. Yeah. Just massively. Yeah. 70 or 72.
Yeah. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. But he equipped those people, and him telling them like, hey, you go out and cast out demons and heal the sick. And you like hearing that from him, like saying, here, you are capable of this too. Go do it. Yeah. And those people, I mean, even if that's all they had was like, he told me I could do this. I'm going to go exercise it. Yeah. And growing in that. And when he says it and they go out there and they do it, that becomes You can't take that away from them.
Yeah.
And the people that they do heal are raised from the dead. You can't take it away from them. But it's just this, that's the growth. That's the connection that everybody has. The ability and the connection. Huh.
It's so beautiful, though.
Yeah.
I love how consistent the Lord is in all of his ways.
Right.
Is that even, I think of that scripture where he's like, who can enter the kingdom of heaven?
Mm-hmm.
He's basically like, rich people can't.
Yeah.
He's not belittling rich people.
Yeah.
He's saying that the way that you think you enter is not through what you think.
Right.
Because they thought the wealthiest people got to buy the best sacrifices, therefore they were the elite.
Right.
And he's like, it's not.
They have better access because of that.
Yeah, they have better access because of their status, which I think is very similar to today's mentalities.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have money, then you have access to this.
Right.
Especially here in Tyler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the whole money aspect of things. And it's like, what the Lord was saying is, no, it's not that rich people can't enter. It's that the way you think you enter is not that way.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
We don't do elite.
Right.
We don't do hierarchies like this.
Mm-hmm.
It is through me and me alone, period.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think about the growth of people that is just like so close of just relinquishing the hierarchy, the view of it.
Yeah.
I think there's so much exponential growth. Could you imagine somebody who has that mentality? Maybe somebody who has nothing,
Yeah.
who's just on the streets and sees like, all these big buildings and all these people with money and power and stuff. Them surrendering that view and having true understanding of like, this is level.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are all equal. And then like moving forward with that change, what that would do.
Yeah. It makes me think of like, oh man, I'm going to butcher the scripture, but it's talking about like the royal priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood.
Yeah.
And if we started to see humanity like the chosen race, all of us, doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter about like your financial, where you're at, but the reality that all of us are now completely new.
Yeah.
We are all actually bound together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would eradicate this clickiness, this hierarchy that you only get with the people that you feel the most comfortable with, or that you, because I've started to think this, man. If you look, and I've heard people say this, like, well, there's just some people that you'll click better than with others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, time out. I'm going to rewind all the way.
Okay.
So I have had multiple parents in conversation lately refer to their favorite kid.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah. And it was some mothers that were just like, yeah, my son, oh, he's just so wonderful. He is really my favorite. And they kind of crap on their daughter.
Yeah.
That their daughter is like this and their daughter is like that and all this. And I was like, how much of the fallen mentality has infiltrated where you even think that, well, you click better with one kid better than another.
Mm-hmm.
And while that may be true,
yeah,
and those are big quotation marks, I think the truth is you don't let yourself go there.
Yeah.
Because that other relationship is triggering.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of like stepping into wholeness, you've just now created a divide of like, well, my son is my favorite and my daughter is, I love her, but not as great.
Right.
And I think we do that with relationships, friendships, with all these things. It's like, no, that relationship is too triggering. And so I just can't go there. I can't go hang out with them.
Yeah.
They make me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't feel, which I hate. Well, I shouldn't say I hate. I think we have now used the safe word as a protective mechanism. Like, oh, they just don't feel safe. And it's like,
I'm with you.
You are safe. Your person is safe. Who cares about them? They shouldn't have influence on you.
Right.
Like, we should be the safe place for people.
Yes.
Our goal is wholeness.
Right.
Don't worry about other people. Show up into this space.
Absolutely.
And, it's just, we discredit a lot of things, or we use a lot of excuses to not go there with wholeness.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, my kid's just this. It's like, no, dude, he or she is not just like that.
Yeah.
There's something there.
You're just settling. Yeah.
You're settling. I just don't think we're called to.
I don't think so either.
Because in the New Jerusalem, you're not only going to be with people that you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that you're comfortable with.
Oh, right.
It's like, no, dude, it's going to be all of us. So why not enter into that here and now?
Yeah.
Why not have the mind of like,
yeah,
you're here. We're here.
It's just readily available. It's at hand right now.
Or find the aspects of God that you actually appreciate in them.
Oh, yeah.
And connect to that. Even if they're wounded.
Yeah, and that goes back to like Elijah and Elisha too, the mantle. If you see it, it's, it's yours.
Yeah.
Like if it's from him, ask him for it. For yourself. Don't go cling to
Don't cling to somebody else.
No,
But it just, like, it makes me think of if there's something about a person that triggers you.
Yeah.
Go find something you really value about them and cling to that anytime you relate to them.
Yeah.
Anytime you see them.
Right.
Because otherwise we're just living from a fallen perspective.
Right. Settling.
Yeah. We just think that they're not.
That's right.
Whether you actually think this or not, you look through the lens of unredeemed.
Yeah. That's right.
And I think there's a shift in perspective that is coming where we see all that are redeemed. We see everybody through the testimony of Jesus.
Yeah.
And I know we say that a lot in our space.
Yeah.
But I think we are entering into a time where that gets to be practical.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For some of us, it's more closer
at home.
It's an
opportunity, yeah. It'll be so fun. Yeah, that's right.
But I'm here for smashing on all of the hierarchy thing.
Oh, definitely. Because there's really not one.
Like the greatest are the servants.
Yeah.
Why don't we fight to get under each other?
I know it.
Why don't we fight to elevate each other and get them flying?
Absolutely. And don't worry about yourself.
Yeah, because you're going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
That Matthew 6:33. Like he's going to give you everything you need.
Yeah.
And the desires of your heart.
Oh, yeah. That's a really good challenge. A good challenge to have with the hierarchies and the people and stuff. Like wherever you're at, like be intentional about viewing people through the lens, the heavenly lens. Like take that and be like, you know what, I'm gonna be intentional with this today. And like, whenever a bigwig walks by or homeless person or whatever, like see without the grid, the hierarchy grid, without the that thing. And look for it. Like look for the heavenly perspective and the equality and the value in everybody around you.
So it reminds me of something that the Lord told me the other day that I wrote down. It was like I've started doing this thing where it's silly, maybe, I don't know. I've really enjoyed it. But in the morning, I write down what's my purpose for the day.
Oh, cool.
And then at night, I write down what was I taught this day. Whoa.
I'm sorry. That's my alarm that I set to wake up at this morning.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You're way ahead of schedule, buddy.
I know.
No, so,
sorry.
No, you're totally good.
I'm awake now, for sure. Sorry.
No, you're good. So the two things was, what's my purpose for the day?
Okay.
Like, what are we doing together today? It's kind of my vein of that, of like, Lord, what are we doing together?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day is, what was I taught that day? Like, what did he teach me? What what was the...
What gold did you extract from the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what was formed within me today? Or what nuggets did you leave? And kind of just reviewing the day like that. It's been incredibly enriching for me.
Yeah.
But one thing that the Lord said, this was my purpose for the day. He said, be generous in your thoughts towards people, for this is how you express love to your brothers. And so I was almost just like hell-bent that day. And there was a lot of crap that ended up coming up that day. Oh, yeah. Of course. But it was cool because I was like, no, be generous. Like, don't render judgment here. Yeah. They weren't thinking that. And the more that I was generous towards people, the more I realized how often I'm not generous. Yeah. Like when I was being present and releasing this, I could start to see the contrast of like, oh, I sometimes will judge people in my mind. Yeah. Like, oh, I will kind of be critical in this moment. Right. If these scenarios happen, yeah, that's definitely my go-to is like, pull back and withdraw and like hold myself back because I'm afraid of being hurt or whatever. But that was really cool.
That is cool.
So I was going to pitch that. If anybody feels that, like, start your days like that. Start your days and end your days like that. And for me, it was just those two. Maybe the Lord will have a different way for you to extract those things. But like, what are y'all doing that day? What's your purpose? Yeah. What's the intention, if you will, for those that like the New Age language?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Oh. Set your intention for the day.
Oh.
And then what was I taught? What did he like? What did the teacher teach me, or what did the shepherd lead me into that day?
Yeah. What did we gain together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was extracted? What part of his nature was being formed that day?
Yeah.
How did I see him that day?
Right.
Anyways, so I feel like that breaks that will help break people even out of just the religious duty of like, I think, okay, because I'm going to go into this for a second. I think we can get so religious in reading our Bible and then writing in our journal and then going and living our day. Yeah. That we forget that this is a constant fluid exchange and engagement and relationship that can be happening at all times if we so choose for it to be. Right. And I know that that's a practice. I know that that's a discipline that must be cultivated within people because our flesh, it's just not learned. Yeah. But anyways, so as you like practice that, I felt like that was like guardrails for me throughout the day or train tracks. Yeah, yeah. Just to keep it.
It is the intention. Yeah, being intentional about it.
But then being able to cultivate, what happened from the day before and what are you going into with the day and like letting it build upon one another.
That's cool.
Instead of just like.
Well, it's such a cool roadmap too when you can look back and it's like a tangible outline of what you've been doing together with him,
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll see the pattern that comes out. You'll be able to see the picture that's being painted for you. Yeah. Of what's being formed within you and how is he implementing his nature and how is he forming love.
Yeah. That's good.
You got anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm a little drowsy this morning.
Yeah. It's probably because you have alarms like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to start off your day. No Have that kidding. Thing go off.
That is abrasive.
That's going to, whoever listens to this, that's probably going to trigger a
cortisol dump.
I'll hear that like in public, somebody's phone goes off and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah. That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
No, so I was going to ask you a question. When have you seen in your own personal life the fruit of choosing no judgment and no hierarchy? And what was the fruit that came out of that when you chose to see people as equal? Yeah. Versus like, oh, these are the elite or these are the... Because you're around a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
On full spectrum, I'll say.
Yeah. Well, there was one time I was where I worked. There was, I don't want to call this person a bigwig because they didn't think of themselves that way, but there was a kind of a view of this person in that sense.
Other people viewed them like that?
Yes. That was kind of and it was a lot of it was the title too. It was the reputation associated with the title, which is straight up, hierarchy titles. But I had a word for this individual one day about his child. I'm sitting here trying to be vague about it. Anyways, and it was real simple. And I knew that he had a kid, and I knew a little bit of things.
Yeah.
But when I was running one day, I just got a little download for him. I was just praying, and it hit me highlighted this person and the dad and everything. And so one day I just walked up in his office and said, "Hey, I know this about you, but I was praying the other day on my run, and I felt like the Lord highlighted this and this and this, and I feel like all this stuff, And he was the most, I didn't know this guy. He was the most sweet, humble dad. And so in that moment, surrounded by hierarchy and business and all this stuff, it was just this family, sweet connection with his dad.
That's incredible.
And it dismantled all of the projections and crap. It cut the crap, basically.
Yeah.
And it was just a sweet moment. And we started talking about the Lord. And then I went and sat at my desk and went about my day. He went about his. But part of it was when I did have the word for him, I was like, well, this is interesting. I haven't really done this too much before with, upper at the workplace. I usually would hit up the truck drivers that would come through. But I did, and it was just so sweet. Dismantled all of it. It's like nothing else matters except this right here.
Yeah.
So sweet. Such a sweet father. That's who that guy was. Sweet man, dad. Anyways, that's an example of it.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that we have the ability to kind of break barriers of that.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's perceptions that other people are projecting.
Right.
Because the people themselves, I think sometimes they are, where they think that they are the elite. But I think more times than not, people don't realize that it's only the perceptions that you've put on them.
Oh, for sure.
That's not who they really are. And when you can see people for who they really are and extract the gold of their person, so many things shift.
Yeah, for sure. And that was the thing about it is when you're in a workplace and you're just surrounded by people doing the same thing every day, that's the collective
mind,
the hive mind.
The hive mind.
Yeah. So when you can dismantle that thing, and it's so easy and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That was a note that I wrote. I was like, did I write anything for the episode? And I wrote a note at sometime, but it said, our faith, our belief determines the malleability, which is like clay, of reality. Just malleability. Is that, make sure I'm saying it right. But that's an example of that. The big hive mind, the reality, it just reinforces that hierarchy and that projection and this person's big, this person's not.
Yeah, man. But it's and just because somebody may know something more about a subject than you do.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Age is not an indicator of value or even wisdom.
Yes.
And that it's like the Bob Jones thing. Really, in eternity's perspective, we are all the same. We are all equal. We are all uniquely valuable.
We all carry the same weight.
And we all just show up at different times here to implement heaven.
Yeah.
And the things that people have walked in, the people that are gone or that are, on the other side of the tracks now, like you said earlier, we have the access, the ability to take what they did, the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Their ceiling is our floor. And then things that we do.
Yep.
Let's honor those people. Let's honor the people that are going to come after us with being intentional and present and initiating it here in our lives. being the fullness of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can take that. I think that's how heaven envelops the world.
Totally.
And so, yeah, that's cool. What about you? Do you have an example when you pulled the pin on the projection hierarchy?
Oh yeah. I've had a few. I am not about going to give people words for status recognition or for promotion.
Oh, of course.
Right. Not a fan of that. But I was put in a position where I had to give my authority, one of the basketball people, a word.
Oh, yeah.
And she was my boss. She was either hiring me or firing me.
Oh, wow.
And I also had a word for her sister that I didn't fully realize all the things.
Yeah.
I didn't know that her sister was connected or whatever. I just thought she was another referee.
Yeah.
Well, I was at camp. This was a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago. But at camp, I saw this girl. I saw the Lord depositing things into her person. Mm-hmm. And I saw that there was going to be a great expansion for business. And I felt that there was going to be the creative things that the Lord had given her, that there was going to be provision for her to establish this.
Yeah.
Long story short, I felt like it was about her opening a business, which I said that. I felt like it was about a great desire that she had had.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, she had just talked to her husband a week ago about opening a refereeing clothing store for gear for referees.
Yeah.
It was an undermarket, whatever, but she was so afraid. She didn't know if she should do it.
Oh.
And so when I gave her the word, she started bawling. And she was like, I can't believe this. This is so incredible confirmation. Like, I really feel like this is from the Lord and all these things. And I was shocked when she started telling me. Like, I mean, much of what the word was so in alignment with everything that she had just talked to her husband about.
Yeah.
That now it's extremely successful.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the only ones on the East Coast.
Yeah. That's incredible.
But I don't know if I've ever told that story to anybody. But yeah, it's cool.
You pulled the pin on that. That's a massive thing. That's just a massive pivot point.
Yeah. Which I could have been like, well, no. And that was her sister, right?
Yeah.
That was my supervisor's sister when I hit that word. And I could have fallen under that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but even the wrestling of like, well, I'm not going to do it because
promotion. I'm not going to be that.
I'm going to try and get promotion, and I'm not going to, like, even just the bucking of that. I just followed the Lord.
Yes.
And
which is what you're supposed to do. It's like, forget the hierarchy, forget the outcome, just follow his voice.
Yeah. But I was so afraid. Like, I even started to question my own person before I did it. Mm-hmm. Like, are you doing this just for promotion?
Yeah.
And it was like the Lord slapped me on the back of the head and he said, go give her the word.
Yeah.
So, of course, I was like, you've got to set this back up. Because I had just ended my games. I was trying to get dressed and ready because I had to go catch a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
That's so funny, too. Because you're not.
Set the flipping thing up, dude. Yeah.
It's funny that you were asking yourself that. Like, am I doing this for promotion? Because that's not you at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. It's so silly to hear that.
Yeah. But I was so worried about it.
Uh-huh. That's funny.
Well, then it ended up getting set up a year later where there was like this weird level of unknown or unspoken trust that she had with me, my supervisor. Yeah. She really started treating me like I was her daughter. Mm-hmm. Then I got a word for her and got to release word to her.
Yeah.
And it pulled her cap back.
Yeah.
And honestly, she kind of stepped in and she would call me. She called me all the time to check on Bexley. She has texted me ever since I've retired, quote unquote.
Yeah.
She still keeps in contact with me. And to me, I was like, yo, that's a connection from the Lord.
Right.
That wasn't even about basketball or promotion or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just the purity of connection.
Yeah.
Connection to my sisters. My sisters in the Lord. And
yeah.
I mean, it's cool that they have like fulfilled the things that the Lord had for them in these words, but Anyways, yeah.
That's cool. Well, shattered that little facade.
And especially for those, most people don't understand the basketball world, which you shouldn't, because it's like its own little cult in and of itself. But hierarchy is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Status is everything. How many times have you been to the tournament? How many times have you worked this? How many times have you worked that? It is very much elite. Are you ever a crew chief? If you're a crew chief, you're in this status. And if it's so gross.
Yeah.
So gross.
Strange.
But for me to go and talk to her, it was breaking a barrier, because at this point I hadn't been hired by her. At this point, I hadn't been hired yet. It was just like a big no-no.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do those things. But
there's an opportunity to just bypass the world.
Mm-hmm.
You ever play Mario, the old one? There's like a secret level where you can bust up through the ceiling and just run across the whole level.
Yes.
Skip all the crap.
Yep.
And win.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You know what's funny though? Now that I'm thinking about it, I got picked up in other conferences, not hers that year.
Yeah.
Because one of her some right-hand guys came to me and was like, well, we just don't think you're ready yet. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I was working in the NBA at this point, but he didn't think I was ready for women's basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. It's silly now looking back on it.
Yeah.
But then I got picked up in a bunch of other conferences that didn't have anything to do with her. She didn't even have influence on that.
Oh, yeah.
But because I was faithful in this, it was like promotion happened.
Right.
It's sweet.
Yeah. And who knows with connections and like when things like that, when you're faithful with things like that, the far reaches of that, and even the things that will come back to us, the return, even if it's like been years ago.
Like what your word that you had on Wednesday about things coming back. You should share that word here because it resonated with me so much.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the other words and stuff like Daniel was talking about I'm trying to remember. Let me go back to it.
You're talking about what the wolves had stolen.
Yes. Right. But it kind of started along those lines of like moving the fence post and stuff like forgiveness. It was along those lines. So there's that gain. There's that aspect of like, because usually it is relational.
Yeah.
Some sort of pain from the past or something that has been stolen. There is this process of like forgiveness and release that frees you. And that alone to me is worth it.
Yeah.
But the word I got was that he was going to restore what the wolves have stolen to those that clear the space of this hard place and rest, to those that forgive and release. There's a return of what they stole. It's coming back to you, and it's a restoration of relationships. It's complete restoration.
You know what I think of, though, with that is that when you release forgiveness, what you do is you give up your right for judgment.
Yes. Yeah.
And you no longer hold a judgment upon somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that is, if like putting it in the context of what we're talking about with hierarchy and stuff, is like when you release the judgments off of people, there is something tangible that happens in this place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know? And even if it is forgiveness, because a lot of the time we have judgments that are rooted in unforgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's what it felt like. It's like you have the gold of that.
Yeah.
But then I felt like him saying like, wait, there's more. Like complete restoration. Like what they stole from you is coming back.
Yeah.
You're getting that.
Yes. I just read today, actually, in Jeremiah. It's so funny because that's literally, it says, and this city shall be to me a name of joy, a praise and a glory before all the nations of the earth who shall hear of the good that I do for them. They shall fear and tremble because of the good and all the prosperity I provide for it. Thus says the Lord, for I will restore the fortunes of the land as at first.
Yeah.
Says the Lord. It's like, things are coming all the way back. And when I think of things being at first, I don't think that's when you first arrived here.
No.
I think it's at first from the cool of the garden.
Yeah.
It's all the way back. It's all the way back
whatever that is bringing it full circle, bringing it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's restoration. Yeah. That's cool.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, that's what I got.
That's what I got too.
All right. See you next time.
Bye-bye.